We bring in Tony Dungy from Football Night in America. And it was 2 weeks ago after a conversation I had with you on Sunday morning. I said, would Leslie Frazier and the Vikings bring in Josh Freeman? And at the time you said no. But what changed in the last, 48 hours for the Vikings?
Well, I really thought that in my last conversation with Leslie, they wanted to see what Christian Ponder could do. And he was the 12th pick in the draft. And I think Leslie knew if you make this move, you're really signaling the end for Ponder. And I didn't think he wanted to do it 2 weeks ago. And this week, I think maybe what happened in England where Castle played, they got a little bit more fire. The players seemed energized with Castle. Maybe we got a chance to win with just a little bit better quarterback.
And you're bringing him in. It's a one-year deal, so you're saying
yeah, absolutely. I think you can't do this just to take a look at Josh Freeman because you've killed your 12th pick in the draft from a fan's perspective, players and everything. So this isn't, hey, we just got Josh Freeman and we got a good player and he'll be our backup quarterback and go. No, you have plans for him to play.
Hey, let me ask you the poll question. Who had a worse weekend? You had Matt Schaub last night. You had David Pollack with his comments on the mothership, Condoleezza Rice. You had Tony Romo, his performance against the Broncos, and Jadeveon Clowney, who says right before game time to Steve Spurrier, I don't want to go in. Let me start with Clowney here, because to me this feels like it's a bigger story here because Clowney is looking at this as he's looking at his future. And he needs to look no further than Marcus Lattimore, who blew out his knee, and then ended up, a 4th or 5th round pick by the 49ers.
And I'll tell you what happens to all those guys, Dan. They get all the voices in their ear from agents, people who want to be their agents, friends. Hey, protect yourself. Don't play. If you're not 100%, you're going to make a ton of money next year. Don't play if you're not 100%. That's what you hear, and you do start to weigh that. And I'm sure he looked, in his mind, that replay of Marcus Lattimore, it's normal.
Is it a red flag, though, for NFL personnel?
I don't think so because you put yourself at 19, 20, 21, and you're getting all these people telling you what to do and what you shouldn't do. I think this guy likes to play, and he's going to be fine in the NFL.
See, I want to know if he loves the game, and I don't know if he does. I know he looks at it as a business, and I understand that because if he didn't have to stay, he would have gone to the NFL last year. So we're forcing them to stay 3 years. And I think he looks at this and says, I want to provide for my family. I can get a signing bonus of $30 million. And that's what this is all about. It's not about your salary. It's your signing bonus. You get that opportunity. And I think that he is looking at this as a business.
And there's different levels of that. Peyton Manning loved college football, loved the game, stayed in, and just enjoyed it. Andrew Luck loved college football and stayed in. There's a lot of guys that love the game, but when you say, well, you can make $30 million in the NFL or just stay here and play because you love it. So I don't look at it that way.
Let me ask you about David Pollack, who had the comments about Condoleezza Rice. And he's saying, a woman, because she didn't play, therefore shouldn't be on this committee that's going to help decide who plays, for a national championship in the playoffs. Your thoughts on I guess just make it about Condoleezza Rice and her football knowledge, in your opinion.
Condoleezza Rice knows a lot of football. She's well respected in football circles. There was talk of her as the commissioner when Roger Goodell got the job, and there were owners who would have been for it. She knows football. She is very involved in Stanford football.
Does she know more football than David Pollack?
She might. She might. She had a better weekend than David Pollack. I'll say that for sure. No, she's consulted when they had the coaching search and got David Shaw. She's involved in that. Condoleezza knows her football.
And I think it's a thankless job to be on this committee.
Well, I wouldn't want to be. It's like voting for the Hall of Fame. You can never be right.
Yeah, and I think that if you want to be on it, I think you love football if you want to be on the committee. So for him to say women because they didn't play,
there's reasons you can be against Condoleezza Rice being on the committee.
Yeah.
But just because she's a woman is not a valid reason.
Tony Dungy from Football Night in America staying with us in the New York City Man Cave. Tony Romo's performance yesterday, how would you assess that?
Well, he played very, very well for 58 minutes and put on a clinic. Now, I was disappointed in the Denver defense. We talked about the Dallas defense. Yep. This is what I was worried about with Von Miller not being there, no pass rush, Champ Bailey not there. really down on coverage guys. Then they had a couple of other defenders get hurt. But Romo, he matched Manning throw for throw until that critical time, and that's always the thing. And I'm sure that's what Shea has got to say. Roger Staubach, we would have drove down the field that last drive. Troy Aikman, we would have gotten there. And that's what you're going to be compared to in Dallas. What happens when you have to have it?
He's 33. He's not changing. And we're watching this in real time. We're rehearsing for Football Night in America. And Rodney says he's got to be thinking about making a mistake here. And then he throws the interception. What was it about that? I don't know. These moments where, and you played with the Steelers, you were there with Bradshaw, you coached Peyton Manning, you see these guys when they tense up or when they just let, sort of the game come to him. What is it about Romo that's different here?
It's hard to put your finger on it, but we all sat there when Denver was behind 48-41. We said if they tie it up and Dallas has the ball with 2 minutes to go, Denver's going to win the game. And I know when I was coaching Peyton, I always felt the opposite. If we're down 6 and we have the ball, we're going to win. And with Dallas, you don't feel that way with Tony, and I don't know why, other than the fact that he's done it so many times in the big games, he hasn't made the throw that wins the game.
Jerry Jones said it was a moral victory. You ever had a moral victory?
No.
Coaches get fired for moral victories.
Yeah, moral
right?
victories are when you have more points than the other team. That's the moral of it. And Dallas, they need more than that. They've got to win some of these games.
Okay, you said that Peyton was going to have an unbelievable game because he practiced against the Dallas defense, the Tampa 2 defense in practice for the 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah. So he knew exactly what he was going to face yesterday.
All the looks, all the calls, everything. He's got unbelievable memory. When they're playing zone, he's just dumping it off to the backs. When he sees man-to-man, all the little pick routes and different things. And he just, they were going to need turnovers to stop him. They got one. I thought maybe DeMarcus Ware could have a big game and beat the backup left tackle a couple times. That didn't happen a lot. So without pressuring him, it was going to be tough.
We're watching the game, and, it's a treat for me because I'm watching with Rodney and Tony. Here's Rodney, who played at a very high level for the Patriots, faced Peyton, and you, of course, coached him. And there they are on, like, the 7-yard line.
That was the funniest thing. I said, here's the formation. He puts it back out of the backfield. He knows it's man coverage now, and Rodney sees Walker in the slot. Oh, here it comes. He's going to fake out and go in. That's what he does against man coverage inside the 5.
Because they're going down, and they need a touchdown to tie it. And I said, are you sure they're going to get a touchdown? Tony goes, yes. And next pass, touchdown. The bootleg touchdown run by Peyton, as I found out, he didn't tell anybody.
Right. We ran that 2007 against Jacksonville.
He said every 5 years he can run it.
Yeah. And he's the new DeMarcus Ware with Chase, and so they set the formation up. The running play, they always run, hand it off to Moreno. He fakes it, doesn't tell anybody, Ware chases, and it's a walk-in touchdown.
Could you beat Peyton Manning in 40-yard dash right now?
I think so. I think so.
And you just turned 58. Well, then I know I can beat Peyton Manning. Yeah. Matt Schaub last night, another pick six. Can you bench a quarterback who's 32, who, you have a Super Bowl contending team, at least you did last year? I don't know, is he the reason why you're not a Super Bowl contending team this year?
They won. We thought they were the best team in the AFC after 10 games last year. They were rolling well. Foster's running. Schaub is accurate, doing all the right things. The last few weeks of the season in the playoff game, he doesn't play well. Something is wrong there. But I still think he gives you the best chance to win right now. I'm not sure they're sold on T.J. Yates.
But can you sit him down to help him?
No.
You don't believe that?
You can't. You have, if you sit him down, you've got to say, T.J., you're taking us. We're putting our eggs. We can't go back to Schaub after we sit him down.
But the confidence level, I don't know what that must be like for a quarterback. When you get in, it's one thing to throw, an interception, but a pick six in 4 consecutive games, you can't even try to do that.
Well, you lost the game. You basically lost the game against Seattle that you had won. And, you go all week, hey, it was my fault, and I'm going to play better. My teammates are behind me. And then your first throw in the game goes to the house for the other team on the road against a good team. And it just took all the air out of the Texans. And, I don't know how you get your confidence back. Some way Schaub's got to do that. He's got to get his confidence back. They've got to run Foster and get back to doing what they do.
Tony Dungy joining us, New York City Man Cave, Dan Patrick Show. Patriots get shut down in Cincinnati. Now the Saints are coming to town. And we brought this up the last 2 weeks. I said they're more of a defensive team than an offensive team now. It's one thing for Brady in getting used to these wide receivers, but what's the problem? What's the disconnect there for the Patriots?
He really misses some guys from last year, and Tom is too much of a team player to say it. But when you take Welker out of your lineup in the red zone, you take Gronkowski out, Hernandez, those were his 3 top guys, and they were great players. So now you've moved down a notch. You're not a dynamic running team. Everything is on Tom to function, and you don't have big spreads. You don't have a lot of wiggle room. These games are critical, close games. Every play counts, and you're missing your top guys. So, he's out there really playing with one hand, just not having the weaponry he needs.
There were 2 wins yesterday that stood out for me. The Colts' victory against Seattle, and also the Saints in Chicago. Now, Saints in Chicago, probably not as big because I don't know how good the Bears are. That Seattle team is very good, and Russell Wilson is spectacular. But Andrew Luck and the Colts, a Super Bowl contender? Can you go that far this early in the season?
They really are. They lost a tight game to Miami at home. Otherwise, they'd be 5-0, and we'd be talking about them. But Andrew Luck gives them a chance in every game. Some of the throws that he makes under pressure, stepping away from the rush, throws that they need in the fourth quarter are unbelievable. And their defense is playing better than I thought they could. And I have to give a special shout-out. Robert Mathis is playing great football.
He had his 100th sack.
Leading the league in sacks, giving them energy. And they could, when they play Denver in 2 weeks, they could shut Denver down. They've got that kind of pass rush, which is what you need against Manning.
Wait. Shut them down.
Shut them down. Now I'm not talking about 10 points or
28
points. Yeah, they could shut them down. They could win a 28-24 game.
Really?
Yeah, and I would not be surprised at all because that pass rush and the noise and everything. And Andrew Luck, they just have so much. It's just the opposite of the Romo factor we talked about. They feel like if we're down 5,
that's a great point,
with 1 minute left, if we can get the ball back, somehow we're going to win the game. And that energizes everybody. That helps everyone. And Luck is playing fantastic football.
Can the Giants, Steelers play themselves in a position where their coaches could get fired?
Not during the season. They're 2 special franchises, the Maras and the Rooneys. That is not going to happen. They're going to stand behind their coach. Now, if things at the end of the year, they'll sit down and have some discussions, but they're not going to knee-jerk and the fans say, oh, we need to get rid of our coach. First of all, these coaches have been to multiple Super Bowls. Tom's won 2. Mike Tomlin's been to 2. And I know Art Rooney and Dan Rooney, they're going to say, okay, well, who are we going to get better? Who's the coach out there that's better than Mike Tomlin? And they'll look around and they'll say there really aren't any, so they're not going to knee-jerk react.
If Jerry Jones was the coach of the Giants,
then I'd be concerned.
He would
for my
fire
job.
Tom Coughlin?
Well, I don't know that, but I'd be concerned. Tom Coughlin is not concerned about his job right now, and that's one of the benefits of working for a real solid organization like the Giants or the Steelers. You can just go out and coach. You don't have to worry about those other things.
Has USC called you?
They haven't, but as they say, representatives of the organization have called. Your people called my people just to see if you're interested.
And?
Not interested.
So what's the question there? They go through your agent and say,
someone calls somebody and says, hey, would he have any interest?
That's it.
That's it. And fortunately, I was able to quickly say no. That I can give them some names, but I don't have any interest.
Why wouldn't you listen?
I coached for 28 years and loved it and had the best job in football working for Jim Irsay and coaching Peyton Manning. And there was a time when it was just done and over with. And so now I'm on to other things. And first of all, I don't know anything about college football other than seeing it through my son's eyes and being there as a fan and a dad. College football is so different from the NFL. And that's what I think USC needs to do. They need to get a great college coach, in my opinion.
Franklin at Vanderbilt.
Kevin Sumlin.
Chris
Peterson. That's the guys I'd be looking for.
Well, what about the offensive coordinator with the Colts?
Well, and that's another guy. Now, if you don't hire a guy who's been a head coach already, Pep Hamilton was the offensive coordinator at Stanford, knows how to recruit in that West Coast area, great offensive mind, knows college football, knows the Pac-12, and he's a very, very good coach. Now, he hasn't been a head coach, won't bring you that glamour that a Kevin Sumlin might, but those are the guys I'd be looking at.
If you're Kevin Sumlin, would you go to USC or stay at Texas A&M?
That's a good question. I don't know that I would go to USC if I'm Kevin Sumlin.
Wow. Is it still a great job, though?
It should be, and I think it is.
The brand got hurt a little bit there with Lane Kiffin.
It has, but I think you can recover just like Ohio State recovered. Michigan, all those top schools will recover. California, you've got such a recruiting base. We talked about it before. DeAnthony Thomas should be at USC, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to get those guys now to come back to USC.
Well, I'm glad you turned it down. And people always say the same thing to me. Would Tony coach again? I said, no, he's done. No. You got little ones at home. You and your wife have adopted children, and that's what I love about you. You give your word; it's your word, and. People still keep calling.
I guess you have to figure it out, but I am done, and I'm enjoying life right now.
Good to visit with you. Safe travels home.
Thank you,
Thank you, Tone.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.